I've got someone here that wants to say hi to you, but I want to tell you something pretty cool first. We went out to the crash site yesterday and we found some new debris.
Really?
Yeah.
Very cool. You mean in Roswell?
Yep.
Wow. You know,
So
I've
got a guy here.
I've often wondered if you couldn't do that with I've got a really nice high-end metal detector, and I'm wondering, well, I don't know if it even qualifies as metal. You never know what the molecular structure or something like that would be, but I would think at some point, that would be a spot to do that at.
I've got some guy here that says he knows you. I'm gonna let him on stage, but he seems a little crazy to me. I don't know.
Who's that?
Tim, it's Ron James.
Hey, Ron, how are you, brother?
I'm doing great. Accidental Truth came out on April 18th, and now the stuff that's in the movie is breaking into the headlines.
Yep.
It's amazing.
So
you are now chairing this committee that is going to be looking into the Grush stuff.
Yeah, I hope so.
Everything that we said in the movie has come true in the headlines.
Yeah, I know. It's very prophetic. That's really cool.
I'm going to be seeing you again at MUFON in Cincinnati, and I just wanted to thank you again for being in the film. We're going to be showing it tomorrow night here at the festival.
Oh, that's kick ass, man. I hope you have great success with it, brother. I hope we kind of.
Well, it's been in the top Apple documentary since it came out. It's been out for 12 weeks now, and it's stayed in the top 20.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, you did an amazing job in it.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Maybe you just needed a redneck to boost your numbers.
I like you better without the beard.
Yeah, me too. My wife asked me. My wife asked me to grow a beard, and I said I'd never grow a beard, and then I compromised and grew a beard.
Yeah, it works better for you. But anyway, Thank you again for being in the film, and I look forward to seeing you in Cincinnati and next time I'm in DC.
All right, brother. Yeah, holler at me. I'll take you over to the Capitol Hill Club. It's I'll pay for it. It's overpriced, but the food's mediocre.
Well, I think maybe I owe you a dinner.
Nah, that's cool. I got it, dude. You just holler at me. You get a hold of Denise in our Knoxville office. As soon as you know a date you're going to be there, call me. But wait till about midweek. Her phone and computer got hacked, and they're all locked up. The federal government's having to send us out new stuff. Oddly enough. So,
well, Tim, when you get a chance to do this committee with Grush, just remember we laid it all out in the movie.
Oh, 100%.
The whole story we told in Accidental Truth, and now it's coming true.
Yep.
And you're the right guy to be doing this. Nobody's better.
Well, you did an excellent job, man. I'm looking forward to many more things happening, brother. Thank you.
So I'm going to turn you over to the people here. They're kind enough to let me say hi. So again, thanks a lot, Tim.
Hey, brother, it's always a pleasure. And thank you for keeping their feet to the fire.
Awesome.
All right. Okay, there we go. So did you have some comments prepared?
Do I?
Yeah, or would you like to answer some questions?
Yeah, I mean, I had a little thing put together. Did you want me to?
Yeah, do it. Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank y'all for letting me be here today. I know we've been fascinated with this issue for a long time, and people have written books and of course made documentaries. There's a young man there who made one that put me in it, so that's pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff on the internet, and everybody keeps asking the question, what's out there? Our culture has been fascinated by the possibility of alien life beyond our own planet. Our government has stayed noticeably quiet on the subject until recently, and the main reason they're doing that is because they've had to. Too many of y'all demanded that we get to the bottom of this issue, and I feel like that's where most of the cover-up has occurred. The federal government, they've been gathering information on this for decades. We know that. And back in 47, when the Air Corps, I guess, started conducting studies that investigated over 12,000 sightings, and that included the famous or infamous Project Blue Book. And most of them had a natural explanation, like the stars or spy planes or clouds and balloons. However, 701 of those instances, natural explanations like they were, excuse me, 701 incidents remain unexplained by the time the studies were shut down in 1969. Most recently, in 2011, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program was established to investigate reports of UAPs, or I still call them UFOs. However, this program remained mostly in the shadows and avoided unwanted attention. The Pentagon even claimed the program was shut down in 2012, which was, as most of the time, the Pentagon, most of what they say is about half true. The program ran out of funding in 2012, but officials in the program didn't completely stop investigating reports on UFOs after that point. They just investigated the reports in addition to other defense duties. In June of 2021, the Pentagon released an unclassified report that was supposed to clear up our questions about UFOs, but it was totally bogus, as you all know. I called it out on that, and I could have drawn up this report in the 5th grade for all the information it gave us. It raised more questions than answers about unidentified objects in the skies. Of the 144 reported encounters with UFOs between 2004 and 2021, we got an explanation about one. Officials said they had high confidence one of these encounters was just a deflating balloon. And later on, the number of UFO encounters between 2004 and 2021 rose from 144 to approximately 400. 18 of these were reportedly moved in ways that defied known aerodynamics. And I like to say if a human had been in one of these with what we know and our technology, they would have been a catch-up package, literally. The declassified version of the new report didn't say anything helpful, just that these encounters were with things that physically exist, whatever the heck that's supposed to mean. And I don't believe the folks at the most of the folks at the Pentagon, my notes say all the folks at the Pentagon, but most of the folks, you've got some bad apples over there, obviously. Folks who publish this, I don't think they're all bad, but I believe they put the bogus report out on purpose. I believe they wanted to put out most of the people over there that I've talked to wanted to put out a report with good information. But as usual, when it came down to brass tacks, somebody at the top pulled back and put the report out with no real substance. And last May, the Intelligence Committee held a hearing on the existence of UAPs. And as I stated after the meeting, we got hosed. And I say we, the American public, got hosed on that issue. You all know it, and I know it. They split the hearing in 2 parts, classified and public. And I was the only member of Congress who went to the public hearing that wasn't a member of the Intelligence Committee. And I always like to say congressional intelligence is a lot like military intelligence or congressional ethics. It really just doesn't exist. I was told that I'd get to ask a question and I was going to blister those guys. The people they put in charge of it from the Pentagon, hell, they couldn't even spell UFO. They weren't, it was pathetic. And the answers are usually, I don't know, we don't have data on that, or that's classified. We even had a Navy pilot in the audience who was not allowed admittance. I didn't know this till after the meeting, and they had to give him press credentials so he could even come into the meeting. And he was one of those that was on the now famous Tic Tac video. I think what really ticked me off was they had a video, and of all the people there, Adam Schiff asked the best question, I thought. He said, "What exactly am I looking at?" And it was an object. It was either the object or a reflection in the canopy of a airplane, and they used a cell phone to film something. It was about 21 seconds, and they asked to slow the video down to show them, and they could not even slow the video. These people in charge. Now, Isabel Burchett, my 16-year-old daughter, could have figured out how to slow that video down. The most technologically advanced country in the world. And that was the video they showed us. It wasn't the Tic Tac video. It wasn't any of the other videos. It was this lame thing that they had, and it was pathetic. I think that I don't think we should be content with this kind of non-information coming from our government, and we should question that and challenge that and call upon our legislators, our senators, and our congressmen to come forward with this information. There are clearly people at the top of the food chain who want to keep this information out of the hands of the American people. Of course, y'all know I want the truth to get out there. People have a right to know what government knows about this. Transparency is the key in government. And that's why I'm planning a hearing in the House Oversight Committee on the very issue. We'll bring in credible witnesses who give testimonies about things they have seen. I'm not denouncing any of the other folks or any of the other groups, but the UFO community or UAP community is I'm a Baptist. It's sort of like the Baptist church. When you have a committee on, say, the color of choir robes, you can have about 15 different opinions and everybody gets ticked off and condemns the other group. So I'm trying to keep away from that. And I'm kind of limited on what I'm able to do, but we're going to get more information. Because so much of this is going to just goes unreported, as you all know. We're going to look into why so much of it gets classified. I'm working with the Oversight Committee and Chairman Comer on the exact witness list and date for the hearing. Speaker McCarthy has given me his approval that we can do this. And then they basically said, I'm the man. We're going to do this. Myself, Representative Luna is going to be helping me from Florida. And we've got several other, I'm bringing in Democrats too. I want it to be a bipartisan thing. This is not a partisan issue, folks, and it should never be. And I'm not going to allow it to fall into that or devolve, I guess I should say. We don't have a exact date yet, but we're thinking about sometime in late July. I also cannot discuss who may or may not be on the witness list until everyone is confirmed. That is the job of the committee to do that. And I don't want the witnesses to face harassment. You know, and I know the federal government, the operators, I call them spooks. That's what they used to call them. CIA or other quasi-intelligent agencies will come see them. And then all of a sudden they get a little nervous. Their stories change or they just don't show up. I've often told my wife if they find out I committed suicide by shooting myself in the back of the head 10 times that I told her where to look. I'd say it probably has something to do with this issue because we've that's when they fire at you when you're over the target, and we are over the target, folks. We need to push this thing. This won't be like the one last year. It won't be behind closed doors. I'm not going to allow them to declare this thing classified or information classified because that's the trick government, the big shots use in government. They say it's classified and then you can't talk about it, or you face a criminal penalty. And it'll be entirely public, credible witnesses who could say more than just, I don't know, or that's classified. What else should happen? I'll just keep fighting for the truth to come to light. But a hearing isn't the only thing that needs to happen. We need to get rid of the stigma that comes with reporting these kinds of incidents. Navy pilots who reported these incidents are American patriots, but they weren't treated as such. Many of the pilots get made fun of. And some I've talked to say that when they've actually had to destroy evidence and tapes because when they come back after a sighting that they're interrogated for over 8 hours, they say they're being debriefed and then they get a blemish on their record, and that's not right. Something more is going on, and we need to stop that, and we need to expose that. There's got to be a clear and normalized pathway for members of our military to report events without worrying about retribution from their colleagues or cover up from their superior officers, which has happened more times than not. The more we normalize this reporting, the more data we're going to get. In conclusion, I want to say when I step out at night, you might have heard me say this, and my dogs always have to go to the bathroom. It's never at 9 o'clock. It's always at 4 o'clock in the morning. But I go out and I look at the stars and I think about the vastness of God's great universe. And he created it all, the heavens. It says in the Bible, the heavens and the earth. And, the light from some of those stars I'm looking at, as you well know, left those stars before the time of Christ. I mean, that is the vastness of God's great universe. And some of them have collapsed millions of years ago and they don't even exist. And we're seeing the light from them. And so I think there's a whole universe out there that God created in his infinite wisdom. And honestly, folks, do you really think we're the best that God could do? I think that's very arrogant if you think that. And the point is, if our government knows something about what's out there, the American public deserve to know. And I encourage y'all to keep asking these tough questions. Put your legislators on the spot. Your Congress run every 2 years, dadgummit. Hold them accountable. Keep urging them to push for honesty and transparency. And people in Washington need to be pushed to do anything productive. They need to hear that the American people demand answers about what our government knows about UFOs or UAPs. I hate calling them UAPs because I think that's just that kind of moves it off the UFO thing. And they need to hear the American people demand our government to be honest. And with that, I'll stop and I'll answer any questions. And I'm sorry I talked so long, but thank y'all.
Round of applause, everybody. Then we'll get some questions. Hey, Tim.
Hey, brother.
All right, hang on. Okay. First question. So there's no date for the hearings yet?
There is, but I'm not allowed to discuss it. Late July. And it's not my job to, it's not my duty to discuss the time or the date, but it'll be made. They'll generally give you a couple of weeks notice.
All right. Anybody with questions?
Yeah. Asking to clarify, a date has been set for the end of July. You just can't give us the date yet.
Okay, someone in the audience asked if you could clarify, a date has been set for the end of July, but you just can't provide it yet.
It is it's in the realm of the end of July. I think the date has not been officially set by them. We've given them some options and when people can be there, but just figure the last week of July, sometime in that time frame. There's a lot of other things going on in DC at that time. And I think what they're going to try to do is put it in a time period when nobody will pay attention to it. But I got a feeling this is going to be, when this thing hits, it'll be the only game in town. Forget all the budget stuff. People are going to be, this will be international. I mean, I'm on a TV show in England or Ireland or Australia almost every weekend.
So I can pass the mic around. This is an incredible opportunity to have Congressman Burchett here with us. Would anyone like to ask him a question?
And it's Burchett, by the way.
Burchett.
Burchett.
Has the serious disclosure problem Dr. Stevens career provided you all necessary as relevant questions you are defending?
Okay, I can't understand what he sound like. Charlie Brown's teacher.
He was asking if Dr. Greer and the Disclosure Project had given you or provided you with any information that would help you speak with people in the defense industry. Is that what you said?
Defense, the Department of Defense and
In the DOD.
the people that are inquiring in these investigations.
And the people that you're inquiring in these investigations.
I know Dr. Greer. He and I had dinner one night. He's a friend. We've had to, well, basically what we've done is submitted a group of names to the committee, and they're going to get the people there and make sure they have the proper clearances to be there. And so why don't I just leave it at that? I don't want to get anybody in any trouble, and that's all right. I got to be real careful here, guys, because we're so close to getting some people out in front and asking some real questions. And so I just have to be real careful. And yeah, there's people in every, if you can imagine the vastness of the bureaucracy, there's so many people that want to talk and that have contacted me on and off the record. But I have to be real careful too, because of, I'm afraid of false flags. I get calls every day, literally in my office. It's always, they come in, the folks that help me with calling people back, and they said, boss, it's the UFO issue. And I say, all right. And it's all over the country. And people, I told somebody, I said, I'm afraid some people always want me to come out. Somebody wanted to come out and see, they had a part of a UFO they claimed. And I'm always afraid I'm going to end up in a freezer in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you just have to be real careful. And I have to be careful too, because we're only going to get one bite at the apple. And I have to be real careful about people that I put forth too, because they'll, if they discredit them, or if there's something, they find out that they're working for one of the agencies covertly, which I'm pretty sure some of the people that contact me are. They're giving me false information just to further cloud this issue so they can continue with their mischief and hiding this issue from us.
Anybody else? Just come up here so he can hear you. I'm gonna have him come up here and speak so like you can.
That's great. Thank you. And I promise you folks, every question's fair. You can ask me anything.
Yeah, like careful what you wish for. First off, I want to thank you for making this bipartisan. I think that's really important. This is a topic that affects everyone, so I appreciate your willingness to come out and speak. My main question is, I don't know if you're familiar with DMT entities. Have you heard of those?
Tell me what DMT stands for.
So DMT is a psychoactive substance that is typically smoked, and some people come back with stories about machine elves, or going to other kind of realms, so to speak, where they can physically walk around and interact with things. Has anyone in Congress kind of been asking those types of questions, talking about these types of entities that you know of?
Yeah, everything has been on the, there's nothing been official, because most of what Congress gets is what's been covered up. And so I've had some discussions with Congresswoman Luna about something similar to this. And we've talked about it, but my focus on this committee, though, I think, is to get people with credentials to come forward and say, in fact, what they've seen and testify to that fact.
We've got another young man coming up right now.
Let's talk in the microphone.
Yeah. You can.
Okay. Adjust the screen a little bit. Hey, I'm Ben Hansen. Thank you so much. Again,
Hey, Dan.
I'm both a TV host, but I've also done a lot of News Nation stuff on the same programs as you have. And they keep coming back to me, asking me questions. I apologize, kind of a long question, but
It's all right.
I completed some research recently at Georgetown, and I heard that my paper was kind of shared in some circles there. It's regarding the next steps. And I was wondering, with the committees you're on, and is there any talk of, like, let's say government's able to come out, we get some disclosure that we want, but what about the implications of what happens after that? Because what I was finding, Georgetown, talking to FEMA administrators and everything, is that there is no plan, at least publicly facing. There's no plan in regards to staying ahead of, I don't want to say staying ahead of the narrative, but helping people adjust to this new knowledge and what's going to take place. Right now, the emphasis, and I agree with what's happening, we need to get the witnesses out there. We need to get that confirmation that perhaps we have a crash retrieval program, perhaps we have physical evidence. But are they thinking the next steps? Is there an organization kind of effort taking place?
Yeah, I've heard talk about that in some of the alphabet agencies, and I'm real cautious of that, because there's almost an arrogance that they think we can't handle it, and I just don't trust the government, and I am the government, and I don't trust what's around me. What? I mean, they won't even allow the Kennedy files. And there's nobody even alive that was associated with the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Nobody alive. And they won't allow files out that are unredacted. And I worry about the federal government now, since they see that enough folks are asking questions, that they're going to start looking for funding. And the answer isn't funding, and it's not more mind-altering misinformation, which I'm afraid would end up happening if this happens. Because make no mistake about it, the only way we're going to get this is if an aircraft crashes in the middle of Knoxville, Tennessee, and enough of you all get there and can put it on the computer. on YouTube or whatever, or somebody walks out of one of these labs with undeniable proof, either a video or something that they, in fact, and they hold their hand up before Almighty God and swear it before somebody kills them. That's the only way we're going to get to the bottom of it. And I can handle it. I know I believe that there is, that we've recovered craft. And of course, if there's a craft, there has to be a being that flew it. So there, you know, I have no doubt that we've recovered that in the past. And I just, I think we can handle it. But yeah, I've heard talk about that. I think it was within the CIA or something along those lines. It was just in passing conversation that they would be, you know, that some folks were over there were afraid that we wouldn't be able to handle what was going on. And I just don't buy it. I think we can handle it. I think we suspect it. I think we know it. And it's moving into the mainstream. And I think that's what they can't handle. And I want to tell you too, part of the reason they want it is because of is money. I mean, you know, they if you can reverse engineer, granted, it's a tough nut to crack. I mean, it's like if I'm a motorcycle guy, so if I took my Harley Sportster, my dad's old Harley Sportster, out in the garage, gassed it up, got it running real nice, and sent it back in time to the people on the Mayflower, you know, they might get it started. They might be able to polish it, but they're not going to get the spark plugs out. They're not going to be able to figure out gasoline. They're not going to figure out anything for a long, long time. And I think that's kind of where we're at on this stuff. And whoever cracks that nut first, though, is going to be wealthy beyond anyone's belief. And so I think they're getting into that. I think corporations have it. It's been compartmentalized within government. I think that a lot of the people that know about it or knew about it are long gone, and that nobody can connect the dots unless somebody walks out at the end point of one of these labs. So it's a long question. It's a long answer. I don't know if I answered it all, but
I absolutely agree with you. It's very frustrating because I think along with that, I heard you speak earlier about that, and that, you know, that this information is kept in private sector. We're also eliminating the possibility that others could kind of crowdsource and get together, and other intelligent minds could be able to figure out how these things work, and we could use them. But since they're not willing to release it, you know, that's another problem. And so anyways, I really appreciate all the work you're doing and putting your neck on the line there, because it's
on the line. I get abused about it pretty regularly in Congress and in public, you know, and I totally suspect if and when I choose to run for re-election this next time, they will come full force at me with that. And that's politics. I get it, but you know, it's but somebody's got to step out. We got to quit this misdirection and talking down to the people that believe what's going on. I just
well, one day I think you'll have the last laugh if we're laughing about it. I told you so. That's what you'll have.
I hope it's not on my deathbed.
We got some other people coming up here.
Sure.
Good afternoon, Congressman.
Hey, you call me Tim, okay?
Okay, Jim, okay. All right then. This is a subject I've been interested in since I was a kid. And I've been kind of waiting all my life for someone to step forward, which really hasn't happened until now. The question I have, though, is with the recent revelations by David Grush and all the information that he has brought forward, which a lot of it is still listed as classified, so he went to the IAG. Are you planning on pursuing any of those leads in your hearings? And should those leads pan out, will you subpoena private industry, meaning the military industrial complex contractors, to testify in Congress or in your committee about what they have from what has been handed to them from the government?
I will go after anyone and anything within my ability. Period. And that's a great question. But yeah, I'm gonna. There, you know, that's why there's attempt. They try to discredit me, and I'm sure Rush and the rest of them. They'll bring out his 5th grade girlfriend and or his 5th grade teacher, and she'll say that he was a mean little boy or something. You wait. There's gonna be an expose on him and the rest of these folks that just some made up garbage, and trying to discredit, and we're gonna see that because we are over the target. I feel very confident we are.
Well, we'll be following you, sir, and thank you so much for your efforts, and Congressman Luna and Ms. Gillibrand for everything that they've done. We'll be there supporting you. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it.
Hi, Congressman.
Howdy,
Melinda
ma'am.
Leslie. Hi there. Melinda Leslie.
Is it wait, what's your first name?
Melinda.
Melinda. Hey, Melinda. It's
Researcher.
Tim.
Hi.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us today at the Roswell Incident Conference here at the Roswell Festival, and allowing us to ask you questions and share. I really greatly, I'm sure everyone here greatly appreciates it. And I
Ma'am,
just
you all pay my salary, so there should be more.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's nice to know some of our congressmen still know that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And I'll announce for the people that are here in the room, I just checked with the producer of the conference, and this is all being recorded right now in the, in the computer, and we're going to be getting it out on social media very, very quickly. So this can be shared because you've said some significant things, as you always do. So thank you again. I have kind of like 2 quick questions. One is regarding whistleblower David Grush. Do you intend, or do you personally wish him to be testifying that last week of July?
I'm hoping so.
You're hoping so. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Do other people hope so in Congress?
Yes, ma'am. And I can assure you quite a few hope he doesn't.
Are the hope so winning?
It really doesn't matter. It just matters if the chairman says he's going to be there, Chairman Comer.
Okay. If Comer, all right.
I could care less what the rest of them think.
Thank you. And with that, also, thank you for being out in front on this. And I know all of us in the UFO field greatly appreciate the work that you, the other congressmen involved, and the senators involved are doing on behalf of this subject, and bring out the truth. Because I mean, I know I don't need to tell you this, but it's about time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Hang on one second. Let me, all right. Somebody calling me there. Did I lose you? There you go. I'm sorry. I thought I had it on block, but I'm obviously not very talented with these computers.
Well, it's nice to know you're still doing your job. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, ma'am.
The other is, have the people that we will hear testify at this first one, or the first couple of hearings, am I assuming that there will be multiple hearings with more of these witnesses coming forward beyond just one?
Well, that's going to be up to you all, actually. If we can put the pressure on Washington and the individuals and leadership and otherwise, and that's why I want to be very specific with the I've seen a lot of these things, and it's great. They're cattle calls, and you'll have 15 or 20 people up there, and yes. I just want a few, no more than a half a dozen, okay, so that we can get intensive questions and maybe even a little repetition, because I think they're going to do everything they can to discredit this, and you're going to see staff. That's who runs Washington. That's partially the swamp is staff. It's because it's just so big, and somebody whispers in their ear or takes them out for dinner or knows something on them. I mean, people get compromised, and people in Congress get compromised. And so I totally think that could be a point that could be made in this.
Yeah, well, I think I agree with what you just said. I think that sounds very wise. And have the individuals that will be, I suppose I know the answer to this. Maybe I just want to hear clarity from you. The individuals that will be testifying in this public hearing, which is my understanding is the intent, have they all been testifying in closed door sessions with Congress?
I don't think so, ma'am. I'm not going to go with that bunch because that bunch is, in my opinion, a lot of those folks are tainted, and they're not. You know, they're programmed government.
How about like
people.
some of for instance, the military pilots that we have heard have testified for you guys in closed door? Are we?
Well, they have not testified. That's
Okay. Thank you for clarity.
and I want to make something clear. The reason that if well, they have, it's news to me, but the reason that the Tic Tac video is out because it was leaked.
Yes.
It was leaked, and then the government, because the government said they didn't exist, the videos didn't exist. It was leaked. The government said it was fake. The pilots came forward, and then the Navy or I'm not sure it was the Navy, which military branch, I think it was. Then they begrudgingly said, yes, these in fact are true. That's how it went down. They did not do anything willingly. That was a leak, and then we have to be real careful with AI, though. I mean, they'll leak something that's just a total fake to run us down a rabbit hole.
Well, thank you so much for clarifying that. So you guys have been meeting with people, but not necessarily where it's.
Well, when you say you guys, it's been this guy.
Okay.
I'm not going to expose them to things that.
Okay.
I don't want them or their families to any abuse.
Okay. Gotcha.
And I'm not going to out anybody because, because they got to make that decision because their families. And I understand my family is the most important thing to me. So we got to keep it all in perspective. If it's,
well, it sounds like Congress is, and the committee members are doing a good job to screen and bring forth people, like you said, that they're deciding on as a group. And, I would like myself to hear from the pilots. I certainly want to hear from David Grush. I think I speak for a lot of people viewing this right now and who will be viewing this recording later. And as well as some of the other witnesses that Grush specifically mentioned. Is there intent to have some of them speak as well?
I would hope so, but I just, like I said, I've got to make sure that the folks I invite are, and these are great questions. And, but I have to make sure that the people that I invite, first of all, are legitimate. Second of all, are free to talk about it, because the last thing I want to do is bring them in there and then they say, well, I've been told I can't discuss this. I'm like, well, that guy, you just talked about it the other night on TMZ or whatever, so I have to be real careful. I want to make sure though, that we got the right people, and I'm not going to pre-program them either. That's another thing. And somebody said, well, these people don't have good credentials. Well, that's what you need to find out. That's what a hearing is about. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's throw out the charlatans and let's keep the legitimate folks in the fold.
Well, thank you. I look forward to hearing these. I hope you're right that this does happen in the last week of July. I, for one, will absolutely be watching, and I can say that for everyone in this room with me now. And
yes, ma'am. And please talk to your congressperson and senators and say, I want total disclosure on this. I don't care. The government doesn't need any more money to study it. Total disclosure. Release the files. These files, ma'am, look like Swiss cheese. It's the most embarrassing. Oh, they said they don't exist, but then they won't release the dadgum files. It's the most asinine thing, and it's arrogance beyond belief, and it's greed too. Somebody's getting rich off of it, but anyway, I'm sorry. I went to preaching.
Thank you, Congressman. I'm going to give the mic to somebody else. Thank you for giving me so much time, and again, for being here with us. That's very gracious of you. Thank you.
You're wonderful. Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, Congressman Burchett. I want to thank you for being here. I have a question. Really, I would like your comment on something your colleague in Congress, Representative Gallagher, said recently. He speculated, and I feel free to speculate yourself, that there is potential for a ancient or proto-human civilization that is living alongside us, as in a parallel civilization. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I know Gallagher. He's a former Marine officer, so he's no dummy. And I wanted to talk. I know him well. I wanted to talk to him about it, and because that, you know, that's probably a little bit beyond my little pea brain to comprehend, and so it's really a deep kind of thing. It's the kind of thing you sit around at night and you wake up in the middle of the night thinking, holy cow. And then I go check a YouTube video on it, and then I realize that, you know, there's a lot of more people think about these things. And that's why I don't think we're going to dwell on that in the committee on this hearing. I just want to get the people out front, the military folks and the experts, and maybe the people that have a little more knowledge of this issue than I do. And so, yeah, I mean, that's when I heard he said that, I was actually a little shocked. I went back and re-listened to it, because it's, you know, that's pretty deep. And, but that's again, I got to be real careful about running down a rabbit hole that I'm being led down, because I just want to craft. I just wanted to bring forth a craft, and then you can do it. You all can analyze the hell out of it after that. That's what I want. I want a picture of a craft. I want to know where it is. And I'm not, you know, people say, well, let's go on a Codell, which is a congressional delegation meeting or trip. They want to go to Area 51. I said, you know, what the hell are they going to show you there? But an empty warehouse or a burn pit. And, you know, I said, everything that was at Area 51, everybody knows they took it to Wright-Patterson. And then it went, who knows where it went after that. So I just, I think that trail is cold. So, but anyway, like I said, sorry I went to preaching again. I apologize.
No, I thank you, Congressman. Thank you for answering that. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for that great question, sir.
All right, we have time to get one more in.
Absolutely. Y'all pay my salary. I got a all-terrain vehicle out in the driveway that's not running. I got to go change an injector on it after this. So y'all are getting me out of work.
Yeah, I was wondering if you're working with any aerospace companies like Boeing, Lockheed Martin. Are you talking to them at all in any way? Are they coming to these hearings, or is that going to be something separate from the government-related kind of disclosure?
Yeah, I think what we need to do is find out which of those. I think we know. I've been talked to folks that have knowledge of that, but you have to be very specific when you call them in, because if it's, you know, what's that in your left hand, and there's nothing, but it's in the right hand, you know, I miss my opportunity. You're only going to get so many bites at the apple. So I suspect they know what we're doing. They know it about the time I make a call to the committee room, to the committee members. I suspect they and some of our government agencies know exactly what we're doing, and they know what we're doing right here in this meeting. So I got to be very careful and very select in those things. And that's a great question, and that's something I fully intend to explore.
Yeah, there was a government vehicle outside, so I know they're probably here watching or something, right?
Oh, you know they are. You know they are, and I'm not afraid of it. That's why I tell folks if something weird starts happening, that's why when you're over the target, that's when they start firing. And they're worried that I'm going to say something that's, that I've seen or heard in a confidential thing, so they can pop me really good. But the truth is, everything I'm not worried about those guys. I just tell the truth, and we'll get by with it.
Appreciate it. And then Grush was also talking about, along with the crafts, possibly finding some bodies. I haven't heard much about that in particular. Is there anything you wanted to add? Is there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if there's a craft, there's got to be something that flies at some being, and there's been too many discussions of that. I mean, there was even a crash in the teens. I believe it was down in Texas, where a craft hit a windmill or something, and they described it. I mean, you know, an an airplane was something unusual back then. So it was, and then they buried a body in a graveyard, and then, and it was given a Christian burial, they said, and there was even a newspaper article about it. So I think that's pretty obvious that there's something like that there. And, but I don't, I have no way of knowing where until, again, somebody comes forward and we force it. And listen, it's when that person or people come forward with that information, but then it's going to have to take almost a capitulation of a president with some guts to stand up and say, turn it loose now. We've dealt with that. I believe it was pretty well documented. Eisenhower asked some pretty tough questions. And then, and then you see Obama and Clinton, and they all joke about it. I was going to see where the little green men, and I called them in there and say, do they exist? Let me tell you, that's not how it works. That is not how it works. And that's not how it should work. These people are puppets, and they are government. It is not what it seems. And it is far worse. Washington is a complete trash can, both parties. Yeah. For somebody like me to get elected, it's almost a miracle. I knock on doors. If you're going to beat me, you better break my legs or bust my knuckles, because that's how I get elected. I knock on thousands of doors, and they can run all the negative ads they want to, and they can raise all the bogus money, which they print daily. But to get ahead in committee, both parties, they issue members a bill, and they say, you have to donate this amount of money to the conference or the caucus, whichever the case may be. And you have to kiss a lot of butt. And I don't do either. And that's why people like me don't usually go very far in the so-called leadership structure. And that's why Washington, D.C. is a trash can. It's corrupt. The media knows they do this, and they print it on a piece of paper. Both parties do it. Yet the media is co-conspirator. They're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. And you have I'm not talking just about Pelosi. You have members of Congress in both sides of the aisle making huge returns on their little investments. And, it's like this debacle in Ukraine, where it's 114 billion unchecked dollars. We sent our missile defense system over there, knowing that we would have to purchase more missiles to resupply our numbers, because we have to keep at a certain level. And of course, who owns stock in it? The members of the committee making that decision, and some people in leadership. And it's just a crooked, shady business up here, folks. And don't kid yourself.
Yeah, thank you for speaking. I'm going to hand it over to, I think, Daniel.
Okay.
He's actually
sorry, brother.
On the windmill crash. So this is the guy you want to talk to about the windmill.
Okay. Oh, okay. Far out.
Hi there. My name is Daniel Allen Jones. It's an honor to be able to have you, Congressman Burchett, with us here. This is a pretty historical opportunity, I think, for everyone to be able to have someone representing an official position regarding these issues. My question is a two-part. The first thing is that I'm very impressed at your knowledge of the historical aspects of the phenomenon. You mentioned the Aurora case, the legend of Aurora, which you mentioned was an object that was reported in the Dallas Morning News back in 1897 to have crashed into a windmill, and the occupant, the pilot, which was buried in the local cemetery. So with something being shared back before, as you mentioned, pre-aviation, before airplanes or anything was supposed to be in the sky, when it comes to the idea that there are historical accounts of this, what is your take on the value that can be placed in looking into these old historic cases, and maybe how it can help us with the modern pursuit and looking into this phenomenon? That's the first part. I'll let you mention that one first.
Yeah, I think there's a particular pattern that it is about them. I mean, if you look at my main historical, I'm a Christian. I'm not a very good one, but in the Bible, Ezekiel saw the wheel, and they talk about a wheel within a wheel, which is, to me, is a saucer that has a round top on it, and as the classic flying saucer shape that we've seen, and of course it's a King James translation from Aramaic or something else. I'm not sure. I got to ask one of my biblical scholar friends, but and then you look at hieroglyphics, you look at just descriptions, you look at this Aurora incident, and to me, they follow a pattern, the shapes, the sizes, the way, if you can interpret the phraseology or whatever that was common back then. And they all follow a pattern, it seems. It's nothing, there's not a new shape or anything that comes out. Occasionally now, with some of the high definition photography, but I think some of that's fake. And that's leading us down another rabbit hole. So I think that's an excellent point. And, and the hieroglyphics too. I mean, you go back that far. I mean, dadgum, man, it's before the internet was created, these different societies were seeing something very similar, and they didn't know the other societies even existed. So it's and to me, I think that is very important that we have some historical knowledge of what went on, that this is just not some new phenomena. It's all of a sudden we're seeing, I know it goes in cycles, just like anything else, but I think I don't think it's peaking right now, and I don't think it's ebbing or flowing or whatever. I think there's constant viewings of craft, and maybe they're just being misidentified. And but I think that's a great point you make, brother. So thank you.
Excellent. So I think there does need to be a lot more consideration, again, with the historical cases and the value placed upon them. And if we could still look into anything that's tangible. When it comes to the second part, being that, as you just mentioned, this does seem to come in cycles as far as people who are becoming more aware of these issues, and simply how can people who are just now getting involved and becoming aware of UAP or the UFO subject or experiences of encounters with non-human intelligence, or however they interpret this, what would you recommend for those who are just now finding their way into these areas of interest, these subjects? How would you maybe give as a send-off to help encourage others to be feeling not ridiculed, or maybe just that they're going to be susceptible to being scrutinized, but that they can have a supportive network of people who are considerate of this as well?
I would tell them to get some thick skin. I wished I could tell them it's going to be an easy path, because it's not, because they're going to try to discredit every one of us. And but I would tell them that the majority of the population, I remember TMZ, why I'm here is because of TMZ, the site. The guy said, "Congressman, what do you think about the UFO report?" And I said, "Brother," more people believe in UFOs than believe in Congress." And I actually put that on my T-shirts, and I sell them on my website, which is a pretty hot item. It's kind of funny, really. But they, I would tell the folks that you're going to get ridiculed, but yeah, and I don't know how to tell you otherwise. But there was a recent poll done. That was my point I was going to get to, and it was over half the population believes that we're not alone. So I think a lot of people are just afraid to say anything. I fly to DC every dadgum week. I get on that little airplane up here at McGee Tyson in Knoxville. It's a good sized airplane. I'm not knocking it, but I walked through first class, and there was this I think I did Ancient Aliens, and it had just come out, and I was catching some hell. And this very well dressed, very well put together dude was sitting in first class, and he had this confident air about him. He said, "Congressman, that UAP issue," and I thought, well, here it comes. He's going to say, "Don't you have something more important to discuss?" And he said, "I want to thank you for that. That's a gutsy move." He said, "I've had I've actually had a sighting myself." And it is unbelievable the number of people that I've worked with in the legislature or in politics, and these are substantial people that either one believe or either two have had a sighting in their life. And so I think it is more common than we're led to believe, just because of the terrible stigma. It's like mental illness. You cut your hand and nobody says anything about you going to the emergency room, but you got something going on in your head, and everybody's, there's this huge stigma. And, it affects 1 in 3 Tennesseans. I don't know what it is in the country, but it's either you or your family member or somebody else. And this issue too. I mean, people believe in it. And you're on the right side. I hear this now. You're on the right side of history, Burchett. Well, I don't know about that, but anytime the government is involved in a cover up, it is wrong. and we are the government. We control the government, and we need to take back control of this cesspool that Washington, D.C. has become. So I know I'm all over the place, brother, but I get fired up. I think this has a lot to do with our country and the freedom that we have. And, you know, it's just pathetic, and it's arrogance beyond belief that we're not given this information.
Very well said. And I very much appreciate bringing up and bringing to attention Kennedy, which is now 60 years ago. Quite a travesty, but thank you. Keep up the great work, Congressman. And it's been an honor to have you here at our event. Back over to
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you, brother.
Well, Tim, I just want to say from the Roswell Daily Record, thank you for being here today. Everybody in the audience had a great time. It's an honor to get questions in from everybody and that you answered them. And I'll put you on the spot here. You come to the event next year, I'll take you out to the crash site. How about that?
Man, I'd love it. I'd have to figure out how I could afford to do it. Because I could actually, if I'm testifying, the government would pay for it, but I would catch hell for that. So I'm very leery of spending any government monies, but I'll just figure it out. Maybe I can get a Super Saver flight and fly out. I would love to, you know, I mean, that is the Holy Land pretty much when it comes to UFOs, Roswell. I mean, I know the story. I've watched it. I've watched so many documentaries on it and interviews with all these people and different back and forths and stuff. And can I tell you one quick story on Roswell real quick?
Absolutely.
And I've worked my whole life. I have a college degree. My parents are college educated. My daddy was a dean at UT. He fought the Japanese in the Second World War in the Pacific. He was in the Marine Corps. My mama actually flew an airplane during the war, but I had and I have a college degree. It took me 6 years to get out of the University of Tennessee, and I did not drink or smoke pot. It still took me 6 years, but all my buddies who partied got out in 4, and they're all like, they've all got really good jobs, and here I am stuck in Congress. But anyway, I had a truck and trailer business, and we sold utility trailers, and my degree from UT was technological and adult education. I can weld. It's basically what you call shop, but I fix things. I can fix, you know, carbureted vehicles. I can probably burn your house down if you need wiring done. But anyway, and I can weld fairly. So I had this truck and trailer business. I was putting a trailer hitch on this guy's vehicle, and I had the door open to the shop, and he comes out there, and he had a Jeep. I remember it, and it had a New Mexico license plate. And I said, "You wouldn't know about Roswell, would you?" You know, I said, you ever heard of Roswell in Mexico? And he goes, "Oh yeah." He goes, he said, "My dad was in the Air Corps." He didn't say the Air Force. He said, "My dad was in the Air Corps." So immediately I said, boom, I've got something going here. And I said, "Well, what do you know about the UFO incident?" He goes, "Well, funny you should ask." He said, "It's always been told that it was a UFO crash there. But he said there was a midair collision and 2 craft, and that something happened. And now I think it might have had something to do with our radar, has had some sort of effect on some of these craft. And of course, at the speed that thing was traveling, I don't know where it went. I don't know if it went to Mother Russia or went in the middle of the Pacific Ocean or what, the other one. But he described really what went down on that thing. And it was just a very interesting, this was, I guess, over 20 years ago, you know, and it's just one of those moments where you like, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen to what the hell's going on with this story, because, you know, it interested me. And I'll tell you when it was about the time John F. Kennedy Jr. died. I remember because I was at the shop that heard about that, I think on a Saturday, and that was back during the week prior to that. So if you can, I don't even know how long, maybe somebody can Google that, but it's probably 20 plus years ago. And so, but he described that whole incident to me in great detail. And because his father was an officer at that time on the base. And you know, and then I immediately discounted all the other garbage that we see, you know, Roswell, case closed, where that arrogant Air Force officer who was overweight got up there and with his little smirk was telling us it was in fact, it was high altitude balloons. And then the what about the bodies? Oh, that was 2 years later. Like, wait a minute. People said it happened. And, you don't miss it. The whole thing was just bogus. And so I don't know if we'll ever know what happened at Roswell, other than I'm pretty sure it was not high altitude balloons, and it was not test dummies that they were parachuting out of the air 2 years later. So, but anyway, I just keep your ears open. Let's keep asking questions. And I'm sorry I talked so long. I apologize to y'all.
No, not a problem. Everybody's loving it.
You probably need to get to the pizza buffet or something that y'all are having.
All right, well.
Hey, well, do me a favor, do the camera around to the audience so I can
you
see
wanna do-
them.
All right.
Oh, great. Thank y'all so much. Let's keep asking questions. It's great seeing y'all. Thank you. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you having me on.